Hi everyone, I'm Aisha, and I'm 29 years old. Today, I want to share a story about a pivotal moment in my life, a moment that felt like an ending but turned out to be the most profound beginning. It's a story about identity, resilience, and finding your voice when others try to silence it. This all happened in the bustling, vibrant heart of New York City, a place I'd always dreamed of conquering. I moved to New York right after graduating from college, brimming with ambition and a fresh degree in marketing. My dream was to make a real impact in the advertising world, to create campaigns that truly resonated with people. I landed a coveted junior associate position at Sterling & Company, a prestigious, old-school advertising agency known for its traditional approach and high-profile clients. It felt like the perfect stepping stone for my career. The office itself was a monument to corporate tradition, all polished wood, muted tones, and hushed conversations. The atmosphere was professional, almost sterile, and there was an unspoken expectation of conformity. Everyone dressed impeccably, spoke with measured tones, and seemed to glide through the hallways with an air of quiet confidence. I quickly learned to adapt, eager to prove myself worthy of such an esteemed environment. My work ethic was unmatched. I often stayed late, poring over briefs and brainstorming creative concepts. I absorbed everything I could, learning from senior colleagues and striving to exceed expectations. I genuinely loved the challenge of crafting compelling narratives for brands, and I felt a deep satisfaction in seeing my ideas come to life. My career was on an upward trajectory, and I felt a sense of belonging despite the agency's somewhat rigid culture. Mr. Sterling, the CEO, was a towering figure in the industry, a man in his late 60s with an imposing presence and an unyielding adherence to what he called Sterling standards. He was rarely seen outside his corner office, but his influence permeated every aspect of the company. His reputation for valuing a certain look and demeanor was well known, though rarely explicitly stated. It was simply understood. I had always worn my hair in sleek, straightened styles throughout my professional life, believing it was the only way to be perceived as polished and acceptable in corporate spaces. It was a silent compromise I made, a small sacrifice for what I believed was career progression. However, a growing sense of discomfort began to settle within me, a quiet rebellion against this unspoken rule. I felt a disconnect between my authentic self and the image I presented. I had spent years chemically treating my hair, battling its natural texture to fit into a mold that wasn't my own. But recently, I started to feel a deep yearning to embrace my roots, literally and figuratively. I saw other Black women confidently wearing their natural hair, and it sparked something within me. It was more than just a hairstyle. It was a statement of self-acceptance and cultural pride. One weekend, after much deliberation, I decided to take the plunge. I visited a natural hair salon in Brooklyn, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. The stylist transformed my hair into beautiful, intricate braids, a style that felt both elegant and deeply authentic to me. Looking in the mirror, I saw myself, truly myself, for the first time in a long time. It was a powerful moment of reclamation. I walked into the office that Monday morning with a renewed sense of confidence, my braids neatly styled and adorned with subtle gold accents. I felt beautiful, professional, and entirely myself. Colleagues offered compliments, some with genuine admiration, others with a hint of surprise. I brushed off the latter, attributing it to the novelty of my new look. I was ready to embrace this new chapter, both personally and professionally. The day progressed smoothly, filled with meetings and client calls. I felt more focused and energized than usual, perhaps because I wasn't expending energy on conforming to an artificial standard. My confidence seemed to translate into my work, and I felt a surge of creative energy flowing through me. It was a good day, a truly good day, until the late afternoon. Around 4 p.m., I received an unexpected summons to Mr. Sterling's office. My heart quickened slightly, a mix of anticipation and slight unease. It wasn't common for junior associates to be called in directly by the CEO. I straightened my blazer, took a deep breath, and walked towards the formidable oak doors, wondering what important task awaited me. I hoped it was a recognition of my hard work, perhaps a new, challenging project. As I entered, Mr. Sterling sat behind his vast desk, his gaze fixed on me, not on any documents. His expression was unreadable, A slight frown etched between his brows. The air in the room felt heavy, and a sense of foreboding settled over me. I offered a polite greeting, but he simply gestured for me to sit, his eyes still scrutinizing my appearance. The silence stretched, becoming increasingly uncomfortable. He cleared his throat, his voice low and deliberate. "Aisha," he began, his tone devoid of warmth, "I've noticed a change in your appearance today." My stomach clenched. I knew exactly where this was going. He continued, "While I appreciate individuality, Sterling and Company upholds a certain image. Your hairstyle, while unique, is perhaps a little too unconventional for our client-facing roles." He paused, letting his words hang in the air. He then used the word. "It's rather wild, wouldn't you say? It doesn't project the polished, conservative image we strive for." My mind raced, trying to process his words, the blatant dismissal of my professional appearance based solely on my hair. I felt a flush of indignation rise within me, but I maintained my composure, determined to respond with dignity. This wasn't just about hair, it was about respect. I calmly explained that my hairstyle was a protective style, culturally significant, and meticulously maintained. I emphasized that it was professional, neat, and did not impede my ability to perform my duties. I cited examples of successful Black women in various industries who wore similar styles, arguing that professionalism should be defined by competence, not by Eurocentric beauty standards. My voice was steady, despite the tremor in my hands. Mr. Sterling listened, but his expression remained unchanged, a wall of polite indifference. When I finished, he leaned forward slightly, his eyes unwavering. "Aisha, I understand your perspective, but company policy dictates a certain level of uniformity in appearance. We value a consistent brand image. I'm afraid if you're unwilling to adjust your hairstyle to something more appropriate, we may have to reconsider your position here." The subtext was clear. The ultimatum hung in the air, a stark choice between my identity and my career. My heart pounded, a mix of anger and disbelief. I had worked tirelessly, dedicated myself to this company, only to be judged and dismissed over something as personal as my hair. It was a blatant act of discrimination, thinly veiled as a company policy. The injustice of it all was overwhelming, a bitter taste in my mouth. I looked at him, truly looked at him, and saw not a mentor, but a symbol of the systemic biases I had always tried to navigate. In that moment, a quiet strength solidified within me. I realized that compromising my authentic self for a job, no matter how prestigious, was a price I was no longer willing to pay. My dignity, my identity, was worth more than any corporate ladder. "Mr. Sterling," I said, my voice clear and firm, "I believe my work speaks for itself. My professionalism is reflected in my performance, not in my hair. I am unwilling to change a part of myself that is integral to my identity to fit an outdated and discriminatory standard." I stood up, my resolve unwavering. The silence that followed was deafening, filled only with the unspoken weight of my defiance. His face hardened, a flicker of surprise, then irritation crossing his features. "Very well, Aisha," he stated, his voice now clipped and cold. "Then I'm afraid we must part ways. Your employment with Sterling and Company is terminated, effective immediately. We will arrange for your final pay and benefits." He didn't even look up as he delivered the final blow, already turning his attention to a stack of papers on his desk. I walked out of his office, my head held high, but my mind reeling. The dismissal was a brutal shock, a sudden, jarring end to a chapter one thought was just beginning. The reality of unemployment in New York City hit me almost immediately, a wave of anxiety washing over me. How would I pay rent? What would I tell my family? The future, which had seemed so bright just moments ago, now felt terrifyingly uncertain. The walk back to my desk to gather my belongings felt like an eternity. Each step was heavy, laden with the weight of injustice and the sting of public humiliation. Colleagues whispered, their glances a mix of pity and discomfort. I packed my personal items in a daze, the familiar office now feeling alien and hostile. It was a stark reminder of how quickly things could change, how fragile security could be. Leaving the building, the vibrant energy of New York City felt like a cruel contrast to the emptiness I felt inside. I found myself sitting on a park bench, the city's relentless hum a backdrop to my racing thoughts. Tears welled up, not of sadness, but of a profound, simmering anger. This wasn't just about me, it was about every Black woman who had faced similar microaggressions, every person of color judged by arbitrary standards. The initial days were a blur of despair and self-doubt. I replayed the conversation with Mr. Sterling countless times, questioning if I should have just conceded if I had been too stubborn. The financial pressure was immense, and the job search felt daunting, especially with the fresh wound of discrimination. It was hard to find the motivation to even open my laptop, let alone craft a compelling resume. My best friend, Maya, was my rock during this period. She listened patiently to my rants, validated my anger, and reminded me of my worth. "This isn't a reflection of your talent, Aisha," she insisted. "It's a reflection of their narrow-mindedness. You are brilliant, and you deserve a place that values all of you." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the brink of self-pity. I also found solace in my family. My mother, a strong, resilient woman who had faced her own share of discrimination, reminded me of our ancestors' struggles and triumphs. "Our hair, our identity, is our crown, Aisha," she told me. "Never let anyone dim your light. This setback is just a redirection." Her wisdom provided a much-needed perspective, shifting my focus from defeat to possibility. The anger, initially a destructive force, slowly began to transform into a powerful fuel. I realized that my dismissal wasn't just a personal affront, it was an opportunity to challenge the very system that had tried to break me. I started researching legal avenues, connecting with advocacy groups, and educating myself on workplace discrimination laws. I wasn't just going to get another job, I was going to make a statement. I spent hours devouring articles, case studies, and legal precedents related to hair discrimination, particularly the Crown Act. The more I learned, the more enraged and simultaneously empowered I became. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was a pervasive issue affecting countless individuals. My personal experience was part of a larger, systemic problem that needed to be addressed. I felt a growing sense of purpose. I reached out to a few trusted mentors from my network, explaining my situation. To my surprise, their reactions were largely supportive and empathetic. Many shared their own stories of subtle or overt discrimination, reinforcing the idea that this was not a unique burden I carried. Their encouragement helped me shed the shame I initially felt and embrace the narrative of resilience. One mentor, Ms. Davies, a seasoned marketing executive, suggested I consider leveraging my unique experience. "Aisha," she said, "you have a story, a perspective that many companies desperately need right now. The world is changing, and authentic representation is key. Why don't you build something that truly reflects your values?" Her words sparked an idea, a tiny ember of possibility in the darkness. The idea began to take shape, a marketing agency dedicated to inclusive branding, helping companies connect authentically with diverse audiences. An agency where identity was celebrated, not suppressed. It was a daunting prospect, but the thought of building something truly aligned with my values filled me with an excitement I hadn't felt in weeks. This wasn't just a business, it was a mission. I started small, working from my cramped apartment, fueled by copious amounts of coffee and an unshakable determination. My first step was to create a compelling portfolio that showcased my skills and my new vision. I designed a website that was bold, modern, and unapologetically inclusive, a direct contrast to the traditional aesthetic of Sterling and Company. Every design choice was intentional, a statement of my new direction. My first clients came through my personal network, small businesses and nonprofits looking for a fresh, authentic approach to their marketing. I offered my services at a reduced rate initially, focusing on building a strong track record and gathering testimonials. Each successful project, each positive client feedback, was a small victory, reaffirming my decision to forge my own path. I was building something from the ground up, on my own terms. Word of mouth spread quickly. My unique approach to inclusive storytelling resonated with a growing number of businesses eager to connect with diverse consumer bases. I focused on creating campaigns that celebrated cultural nuances, challenged stereotypes, and promoted genuine representation. It was rewarding work, far more fulfilling than anything I had done at Sterling and Company. I felt a sense of purpose I had never experienced before. I poured every ounce of my energy into my new venture, working late nights and early mornings. I learned about business operations, financial management, and client acquisition, often relying on online courses and advice from my mentors. It was a steep learning curve, but every challenge felt like an opportunity to grow, to prove to myself and to the world that I was more than just an employee. I was an entrepreneur. As my client list grew, so did my confidence. I hired my first employee, a talented young designer who shared my vision for inclusive marketing. We moved into a small co-working space, a vibrant hub of innovation and collaboration, a stark contrast to the rigid formality of my previous workplace. The energy was electric, and I felt a sense of camaraderie I had never known before. My team was a reflection of the diversity we championed. About a year after my dismissal, a major opportunity arose. A prominent national retail brand, known for its progressive values, put out a call for proposals for a new diversity and inclusion marketing campaign. This was a huge account, one that Sterling and Company would undoubtedly be vying for. I knew this was my chance to show the world what authentic representation truly looked like and to prove Mr. Sterling wrong. My team and I worked tirelessly on the proposal, infusing it with innovative ideas and a deep understanding of diverse consumer segments. We presented a concept that was bold, authentic, and emotionally resonant, far beyond the traditional, often tokenistic approaches of larger agencies. We emphasized genuine storytelling and community engagement rather than superficial representation. It was our most ambitious project yet. The day of the pitch arrived, and I walked into the sleek conference room, my braids meticulously styled, my confidence radiating. To my surprise, Mr. Sterling and his team from Sterling and Company were also there, pitching for the same account. He looked visibly startled to see me, a flicker of recognition and perhaps a hint of discomfort crossing his face. The irony of the situation was almost comical. I delivered our presentation with passion and conviction, highlighting our unique approach to inclusive marketing and the tangible results we had achieved for our clients. I spoke about the importance of authenticity, of truly seeing and valuing all consumers, not just those who fit a narrow demographic. My voice was strong, my message clear, a direct challenge to the outdated practices of agencies like Sterling and Company. The retail brand's executives listened intently, their expressions shifting from polite interest to genuine engagement. I could see the wheels turning, the realization that our approach offered something truly fresh and impactful. Mr. Sterling, on the other hand, looked increasingly uncomfortable, his usual composure cracking under the weight of my compelling presentation. The power dynamic had undeniably shifted. A few weeks later, the news came. We had won the account. It was a monumental victory, not just for my agency, but for the entire movement of inclusive marketing. The contract was substantial, propelling my company, Authentic Voices Marketing, into the national spotlight. It was a moment of profound vindication, a testament to the power of staying true to oneself. My dismissal had paved the way for this extraordinary success. The success of the retail campaign was unprecedented. It went viral, sparking conversations about diversity and representation across social media and traditional media outlets. My agency became the go-to for brands seeking genuine connection with diverse audiences. We expanded rapidly, hiring more talented individuals who shared our passion for authentic storytelling. I was now a leader in an industry I once struggled to fit into. The media picked up on my personal story, the CEO who dismissed me over my hair, and my subsequent rise. I was invited to speak at industry conferences, share my journey on podcasts, and contribute articles to major publications. I used every platform to advocate for the Crown Act, for workplace equity, and for the celebration of diverse identities. My voice, once silenced, was now amplified, reaching thousands. Mr. Sterling and Company faced public scrutiny and criticism. Their traditional approach seemed outdated and out of touch in the wake of my success. I heard through the grapevine that they lost several key clients who were looking for more progressive marketing partners. While I felt no malice, there was a quiet satisfaction in knowing that the industry was finally catching up, demanding more than just superficial diversity. Looking back, the day Mr. Sterling dismissed me felt like the end of the world. But it was, in fact, the beginning of my true liberation. It forced me to confront systemic biases, to trust my instincts, and to build something truly meaningful from the ground up. My natural hair, once deemed wild, became a symbol of my strength, my resilience, and my unwavering commitment to my authentic self. My company, Authentic Voices Marketing, continues to thrive, not just as a successful business, but as a force for positive change. We're building a future where everyone feels seen, valued, and represented. I've learned that true success isn't about conforming to someone else's narrow standards, but about embracing your unique identity and using your experiences to empower others. I now serve on the board of a nonprofit dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and I mentor young professionals, especially women of color, encouraging them to embrace their authentic selves. My journey has taught me that sometimes the greatest setbacks are actually setups for something far greater, something more aligned with your true purpose. So, if you're watching this and you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told you're too much or not enough because of who you are, remember this. Your worth is not determined by someone else's limited perception. Your unique identity is your superpower. Embrace it, protect it, and let it fuel your journey to greatness. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more empowering content, and share your own stories of resilience in the comments below. Let's build a community where every voice is heard and celebrated.